whatever you thought was cute and fun that you think of fondly back in the day, and you turn it into the most twisted, weird, maniacal, insane killer thing you can possibly find. So, following up on our discussion about jump scares, I've been meaning to talk about this on the show for a while. I don't really get mascot horror.
I mean, if we had done this talk earlier, I could have gotten an expert in to talk to us about it. Being my 14-year-old son.
Right. I'm gonna guess more in the Freddy Fazbear sort of oeuvre.
He actually really enjoys horror games. And that type of horror games, he's really a big fan of them, even though sometimes people go, this makes no sense.
They rarely do.
He's played a ton of Hello Neighbor, which again, it makes no sense. The thing with mascot horror is it's multifaceted. Is that it started all with FNAF, obviously.
Yep.
FNAF got huge.
Yeah.
And part of the thing is that the merchandising opportunities of something with mascot horror is incredible.
Absolutely. Like, from a commercial standpoint, I understand it completely.
Even some of the games out there, I think Poppy Playtime might have been the one. Some of the games out there set out making their game to be as merchandisable as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And so from that standpoint, I can totally understand it, even though I hate it. But when you go, I want to make a game that's going to be in this genre that's really popular and also very profitable for selling beyond the game, merchandise as well. That's harder to do for sure with games, I think.
Yeah.
Especially horror games.
You need to be able to provide the gaming experience too. Right.
Right.
I think maybe that is one of the reasons why I don't actually like them, because it does feel like they are built to be commercial entities more than the game itself. You know,
right. And
you have your Bendy, you have your Choo Choo Charlie, you have all these things, and it's like, hey, it's mascots, and there's like a whole thing about it, and hey, isn't that fun? And also, here's figurines and posters.
Secondary part is a lot of these games that are in the genre of mascot horror, not all of them.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are aimed at a younger audience. Partially because those are more the people with disposable income, if they have it, or can ask for presents and get them still, that will get these merchandise options. But they also are kid-friendly, and a lot of them also have the aesthetics that are of like children's mascots or children's TV shows or anything like that. It's kind of a thing they're doing now. And they have been for a little while. I think the other example of this, though, is with Poppy Playtime, is that, again, going back to the librarian, who plays whatever people suggest for him.
Sure.
He had gotten people suggesting he play Poppy Playtime. And he went into it exactly how we're sitting here right now, going, it's mascot horror, I'm probably not going to like it, but enough people told me I should play it, so I'm going to play it.
Sure.
And he went into it and he played it and he was like, actually, this is a lot more cohesive than I expected. Like, this is a lot better. Yeah, surprisingly a lot better as a game than he had gone expecting. So some of them will surprise you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the bar to entry is very low on mascot horror.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I guess like from a reason why people make them, I kind of understand it, because it is commercially viable and it has a lot of opportunities. I guess the thing I was always confused by is what about them people get out of the game itself. And the only thing I could really think of as why they'd want to do the mascot horrors is because they harken back to a more innocent time for people. Like, if you're an adult and you're like, oh yeah, I remember going to the amusement parks, or anything that might give you like happy memories, like, oh, here's a train, here's when I went to the Chuck E. Cheese, and they had all the things, and then they turn that into like a horror thing. There's like this sense of like turning it into like a place of security to a place of utter insecurity where things are like coming at you. And they're like kind of like the Chucky thing. Like why Chucky for Child's Play is so effective. It's like, oh, you take the little doll and so innocent. Oh, now it has a knife. Okay, well that kind of takes out the whole innocence part of it.
On the same part with the mascot horror, there's been a pretty big resurgence. I don't know, surgence. It's not a resurgence if it's a newer thing, but it's about an older thing. It's just anyways, there's been a pretty large wave of like nostalgia lately for like any media that deals with nostalgia type things.
Oh,
like, one of the big things it's not horror related, but it's like internet aesthetics is a thing I pay attention to as well and watch videos on. But one of the big ones that's been cropping up again lately has been like the early 2000s era, like Windows 2000, 2001, Windows XP, and it's the fruitier arrow aesthetics, which we can actually probably use on this thumbnail somehow. But I've seen multiple people in the last couple months making videos about Fruitiger Arrow. Apparently that's really big right now. It's like, it's just the aesthetics of what, you know, all of our digital devices had back in the early 2000s with the gloss and the crazy wallpapers with like dolphins, and if you look at like Lisa Frank design type things, all that type of stuff, or the just glossy and like the grassy hills with like globes and things. That's all Fruitiger Arrow. So there's also been just a big wave of nostalgia also within horror, however, because again, we're getting not just like PlayStation 1 and PS2 style graphics for games, and like even Crow Country, I think, was harkening back to the old PS1 fixed camera angle type gameplay. So we're getting those, and then mascot horror again does also harken back, as you said, to a more innocent time, so a more nostalgic time.
There's this whole thing about how nostalgia is usually like, it's about 30 years out. You know, you kind of figure that, you know, a few years back, like about 2015 or so, the 80s was like a huge thing. So everything 80s started coming back. We're now in the point where the 90s start coming back. So that aesthetic is really where you're seeing a lot more interest in it. That's stuff that we would have grown up with, is, you know, we get nostalgic for.
It's even as you said, 30 years. I know it's not quite 30 years yet because it's 2024. It's pretty close, though. It's the Fruitiger Arrow being the early 2000s up until the 2010s. It's still right around that 30-year mark. It's close enough that it's right up in there.
Yeah. And then so we get to it's about the generation that's kind of like the more prominent one, looking back upon like an era with rose-colored glasses, granted, but in some ways
from the blood.
It's from this perspective, actually from a mirror darkly, and kind of like taking that whole aesthetic and turning it into something that's actually kind of dark or twisted in some way, which is interesting in itself. I was thinking about this. Side note is I played another demo recently called The Precinct, and I thought to myself, like, The Precinct is basically where you're playing a cop on a new beat, and it's done from like a more top-down, like, open world perspective, and it reminded me of the old GTA games, like the original ones that are like the top-down sandboxes. And I thought to myself, this seems like the kind of gaming trend that you're going to see more of, that kind of harkens back to like the original like GTA 2, that kind of thing. Because people probably would want to see it again. Like, it's been out of fashion for a long time, but hey, people could really get back into this easily enough. The kind of gaming trend you can imagine. Yeah,
it goes hand in hand with all the remasters and remakes we're getting lately of games that are 20 years or so old.
Yeah.
Again, like the Soul Reaver remakes coming out in December. By the way, you're playing that?
Yep. No, I will play that. I honestly
I'll
will
play it,
that.
even if you don't, I will.
Yeah, I know that you're going to, but I will also do that. I'm still praying for a KOTOR remake, and I might never get it, so you know what? Maybe we should make a mascot horror where, like, Darth Malak is chasing us all over the Endar Spire in the first thing.
No, because that's not a mascot. Mascots need to be kid-friendly.
Oh, okay. Could I make, like, Fortnite version of Darth Malak?
That's better.
That's great.
We'll do a mascot horror Blue's Clues.
You know, I need to see more of the Darths do, like, the Backpack Kid dance. Poppy's Playtime, Bendy and the Ink Machine was also a big one for that. And obviously, Choo Choo Charlie, those kinds of things. You take something that was popular as, like, maybe kids' entertainment television, let's say a Thomas the Tank Engine, and you go, can I really make this as fucked up as possible? Like, but
sure, they already... Listen, Thomas is horrifying. That's why all the mods in Skyrim add him as the dragons instead, to terrify you.
I hope there's a Choo Choo Charlie mod where you can turn Choo Choo Charlie just into Thomas the Tank Engine.
But
I'm sure there is, and it would be so much worse. But again, like, you know, you think about, like, I don't really know what Poppy's Playtime is probably trying to mimic. Maybe like a Yo Gabba Gabba or something. I don't know. But the big puppets, maybe Sesame Street. Actually, probably more Sesame Street, kind of like from that. But a dark version of that. Bendy and the Ink Machine obviously is going to look like classic Disney cartoons, that kind of aesthetic. So stuff like that. So you just take whatever you thought was cute and fun that you think of fondly back in the day, and you turn it into the most twisted, weird, maniacal, insane killer thing you can possibly find, and put it in these, like, dark versions of those landscapes, and you try to make your player hide from them, and congratulations, you just sold 2 billion copies of your most recent game.
Sounds good.
Enjoy. Let's do it. You know what? We're gonna find... What did we enjoy watching when we were kids, back in the day?
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, yeah. Let's make a messed up version of Power Ranger. Oh! Way back
horror.
when. Yeah, way back when, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Mr. Rogers comes in and says...
No, we can't do Mr. Rogers. He was too great. He was too good of a person.
Nothing is sacred, though.
Listen, if you're going to do anything, you do Bob Ross.
I was just thinking about Bob Ross. He stabs the happy little trees. You have, ooh, actually, this would be interesting. Do you remember back in, like, Oblivion, there was, like, a whole thing where you could go inside a living painting, and there was, like, a troll that was in the living painting. But the ideas of going inside the painting, you get trapped in, like, one of the Bob Ross paintings. But it's not Bob Ross. It's like something else. And then...
Bob Moss.
Exactly. Yeah, Rob Moss. Something like that. And anyway, Rob Moss is... You are trapped inside of his painting, and he is trying to hunt you down. Because you have invaded his painting. And now you have to figure out why you're in it. And how you got trapped in it. Now they're not happy little trees anymore.
Now they're bloody little bone trees.
Yeah, and as you get further and further into the painting, it starts to get, like, more twisted and dark, and, like, the blood starts running down from the trees, and you start uncovering that, like, you're uncovering Rob Moss's horrific secret. And then you find, like, a body, and you realize that, like, the dead bodies are trapped in the paintings, like, he traps them in the paintings. Great. And that's how he disposes of the victims. You just don't see them behind the happy little trees, because it's just right outside a frame. Then you go behind it, and you see, like, all of the terrible things that are behind it, and that would be great. We can call it Scary Little Trees.
Pay no attention to the scary little trees. It's our secret.
Behind the frame. Because we're, like, going behind the canvas. Recanvassed. Called something stupid like that.
Reframed.
I think that something like that could work. Ooh! Fraggles. There's some
terrifying enough.
You could do Ninja Turtles. You're trapped in the sewers. There's a giant mutated rat that's trying to figure out who hunted down and killed all of his sons, which were the 4 turtles. And you have to find out who the killer was, because otherwise the rat thinks it's you. And then you uncover the mystery. So that would be
Shredder all along.
It was Shredder all along, yeah. And then the twist at the end is that actually you had amnesia and you were Shredder all along. Oh, what?
Oh.
I understand the reason why mascot horror exists. I just don't understand why it's supposed to be effective for me, I guess is the thing. I just feel like it's just jump scares, but with a colorful cartoon character that's been twisted around. And since I've already established that jump scares are not particularly terrifying for me, or horrifying, then just making your bad guy like the twisted version of a mascot, so that it can go and chase me down, doesn't really add anything to the experience for me. Some of them do it better than others, but it's become such like a common thing. When I go through like a Steam, the suggestions, like, you know, here you go, here's your checklist, and I look through the suggestion list, I swear I constantly see like, oh crap, there's another freaking mascot horror game in this mix. Constantly, and I'm like, how many times do we...
So I didn't even really look at Next Fest much this time.
No, I didn't really.
I think I played 1 or 2 demos, and I was like, all these look like crap.
Yeah, the thing is that, like, I had 1 or 2 demos where it was like, I might play it, and I didn't get around to playing it before Next Fest was over, so apparently. I think the Precinct was the only one I really tried. And apparently Project Mist. So, that... Hit and a miss.
And a mist.
Hit and a mist. Exactly. If you're into the big angry birds trying to kill you, you let me know in the comments down below. Tell me why I'm wrong about this, but honestly, I accept that it's not my cup of tea. Other people can enjoy it. But it's just really weird, the prevalence of it. You're probably right, though, with your first impressions. It's very commercially viable. There's a lot of marketing opportunities, and I think that just kind of takes out all of the horror and teeth to it.
It's also got a lot of YouTube possibilities by all the YouTube gamers who just play jump scare horror games and have huge audiences because it's what they do.
It kind of actually, like, on a side note, it kind of does remind me of, like, the slasher movies from, like, the 80s or 90s where you had the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff, and, you know, Freddy and Jason and Mike Myers, and, you know, they were scary when they were first supposed to be out there, and they were supposed to be scary. Then they became, like, marketable items that you could sell and that you could put on, like lunch boxes and stuff. And suddenly they're not really that scary anymore, and then when they start making movies, they're kind of wacky now, and, like, it takes away from the whole reason you're doing it in the first place, where you come up with a cool idea for a horror franchise, and then by the time you're in the third one, it's just wackiness, because you know it's more marketable for the merchandise. And it feels like they're trying to do that with horror now in video games. We don't have to play
But if you do get it,
help me.
Subscribe. Like the show. Let us know what you understand that we don't know.
Or
subscribe. Tell me I'm right. Or tell me I'm wrong.
Tell us what you think, and then stay tuned in case I end up changing my mind later because of the wonderful comments you left. That's what you can do. And yeah, just let us know in the comments down below.